Let's pick up the demo of the Mars software with option F for dues. Before you can enter dues received from a student, you must plug in some dues descriptions into the system so that when a dues is received, it can be tied in to a specific description. Now, if you think about it, we already have some dues descriptions defined in the system. We know, for example, that every student has to pay a monthly fee. We know that every student will have to pay a test fee to test from one rank to the next. So if we look at the dues descriptions and list out what's already in the system, leave this entry blank, you see that we have monthly dues descriptions from January through December, with each one with its own unique code. And we have test fees described in the system for each of the ranks that you've defined in your style of martial arts. So if you page down, here are the rest of the ranks. Page up. These are the ranks you have defined under option A in your style of martial arts. And there we are. These are the ranks defined in your style of martial arts. So these are the descriptions for testing from one rank to the next. So from white belt to 6th Q, there will be a test fee, 6th Q to 5th Q, test fee, and so on. For example, if we go back for a moment to option A, and let's say in my style of martial arts, the ranking system only goes up through here. Nothing beyond this point. So at this point, I'm going to put in the words end, just as we have the words end and end over here for the original. Page up or page down to accept the change made here. Go back in again, make sure the change has taken. If you now look at option F, dues descriptions, and list them out, the January through December dues will remain intact. The test fee dues descriptions will change, page down, to what you had defined in your system. We had only gone up to this definition, nothing beyond. Let's go back one more time, and let's say I want to reactivate everything from here onwards. As long as this end and end over here are there, I can simply reactivate this one. Whoops. Page down or page up, go back in again, make sure it took effect. If you now look at option descriptions for dues, the monthly descriptions remain intact. The test fee descriptions depend entirely on what you've defined in your system. Now, because these dues are predefined and each one has its own unique code right there, you are also prevented from editing or deleting the existing descriptions. For example, if you just say I want to edit and bring up the list and pick one of these, this is the reserved code and description for a monthly due. It cannot be changed. Same thing, you cannot delete, leave them blank. Let's say I want to delete this time one of the test fees. This is the reserved code description for a test fee. It cannot be deleted. So if you cannot add, you cannot add them either. For example, if I put in a code 10 for whatever description, it says invalid code, this code is reserved. If you list it out, this code is reserved. And the same thing for a description. So if you put in a unique code, for example 99, and put January dues, the exact verbiage, The description already exists. Touch any key. So the bottom line is these the pre-existing codes cannot be deleted, they cannot be edited, you can't add them in again. So the only thing you can use this now is to add your own user-defined dues and dues descriptions. Let's say once a year we have a couple of senseis who come in to give us seminar, and there will be dues associated with that seminar. So you can add a dues description, pick any unique code. Since codes 1 through 27 are defined, I can go with 28, 29 or whatever. I can even put in alphabets like A1, B1 or AB, BC, whatever. Let me go with 28 and say ABC's seminar. 28 Sensei ABC seminar accepted, touch any key. And 29 Sensei XYZ's seminar accepted. If I now take a list, at the very end these are the user defined codes and descriptions, and these are the only ones that can be edited. So if I want to go into edit and bring up the list, I can edit this entry, and let's say I change it to read Sensei ABC's annual seminar. Done. Pick this one up. Whoops, this is the same one, sorry. Sensei XYZ's annual seminar. So list it out, and there we go. So you can add, edit and delete your own user-defined codes, but not the monthly fees or the test fee descriptions that come in from your ranking system. Having plugged in the dues descriptions, we can now start plugging in dues received from students. Dues received, you can add them, edit them, delete them, list them. This is the usual cascade of options. Dues received. Let's take a look at any one of them. The first one. This person is currently inactive and cannot be asked for dues, which is correct. If a person hasn't come into class for more than 60 days, what kind of dues can you ask him for? So right now, if inactive records cannot be asked for dues, let me plug in my record. Now, today is 8/1, so on this date, let's say I made a payment of $100. For the year 2020, it defaults to the current year. I can overwrite it with some other year. The moment I accept the date, a pick list of the dues descriptions comes up, and you can page down to see the rest of it and page up and so on. So you pick the dues descriptions, the reason for the payment. So let's say I'm paying it as a Nidan test fee. Accepted. On this date, I paid $100 for the year 2020 for Nidan test fee. And let's say I pay maybe $35 for the year 2020, and I go down for a Sensei ABC's upcoming seminar. Accepted. On this date, this amount for this year, for this reason. Touch any key. Let me go back and add a dues received from another active record. Let's say my friend Mr. Andrews on this date paid, say, $200 for the year 2020 towards his Shodan test fee. Accepted. On this date, this amount for this year for this reason. And maybe he paid $45 for the year 2020 for Sensei XYZ's seminar, and so on. You always just list out whatever I paid. I already had some payment records in the system. For example, on this date I had paid $1 for the year 2019 towards January dues. Now please note, on this date, this is the year 2020, I can make a payment for whatever year I want. This is the year for which the payment was made. This is the date on which the payment was made. These are my new entries I just plugged in. On this date, this amount for this reason, for this year, and so on. Let's list out Mr. Andrews' payments. He also has some payments predefined. He paid $4, $5, and $6 on these dates for this reason. And these are his new entries he just plugged in. Now, you can always delete a payment at any time you want. So let's say for Andrews, these are his payments made, and he decided not to make the payment or take back the payment for the annual seminar, whatever, or it was incorrectly entered. It says up here, confirm the delete. So essentially you pick and choose the entry you want to delete. It says confirm the delete. Yes. It says done. Touch any key. If you now look at his record, that entry for $45 is gone. Let me plug that entry back in again. From Andrews, on this date he paid $45 for the year 2020 for Sensei XYZ seminar. Accepted. Touch any key. If you list it out, it's back in place. $45. Now, so you see the reason we had to define the dues descriptions first before you can plug in dues received. That way there is total uniformity of entries for dues received. When you can always tie in a dues received to a specific description. So now you can pull off reports for the dues received. It defaults to the current year. You can overwrite it with some other year. Report to a text file. You can move it to a text file so it can be word processed. For right now, let me just go to the screen and see what shows up. Dues report for the year 2020. Now this line is very important. The report shows any dues paid for 2020. Obviously it's the dues report for that year. More importantly, you'll come up with records where there was 0 dues paid but with 8 or more mat days of attendance for that year. In our option A parameters, we said that our tryout days is 7. You can put whatever number you want. In other words, someone wanting to try out your style of martial arts and your dojo has 7 free days to take a look at it, and if they want to continue, then a payment is expected, and that's reflected in the reports. So this person, Andrews, made these dues payments for the year 2020. The report is for the year 2020. So he made the following payments for the following reasons. That's his subtotal. And he put in a total of 22 days in the year 2020. So far, obviously, the year is not yet over. So far he has put in so many days and so many hours for which he paid so much for various reasons. My record. I made these payments for 2020 for these reasons. That's my subtotal. And so far I put in 29 days and so many hours into the system. The report comes out in alphabetical order of last name. This person made no payment, but he comes out on the report because he put in 9 days so far in the year. And 8 or more, our cutoff date for free days was 7, so 8 or more will kick out. 9 days over here, this person made no payment but put in 8 days, no payment 19 days, and so on and so forth. Now obviously what you do with the report is up to you. You can chase these folks down for payment. That's up to you. So this report, for example, can be sent to a text file. Done. The report is in the file. So if I look at I'm going to look at this file. There's the dues report for 2020. These reports, if you send them to a text file, they will obviously end up in the same folder from where you're executing the Mars software. So here's the dues report for 2020. Everything we saw before is now in a text file, and the advantage there is that you can always pick up these email addresses. These are the email addresses of the folks who pay 0 dues but put in more than the allowed number of free days. So these are the email addresses of only these folks. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There we have it, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 email addresses. You can copy and paste them to send off a bulk email. Let me go back to the system. If I pull up the report for 2019, let's take it to the screen for now. At the very bottom, the report is not yet over. Here's the rest of it. When you send the report to the screen, obviously it's only going one way. You can't page up unless you send the report to a text file. So going back in again, 2019, once again, Mr. Andrews has these payments to his credit. So now note again, this year has nothing to do with this year. On this date, in this year, he made this payment for 2019 for April dues and May dues and so on. That's the subtotal. And he put in a total of 78 days for the year 2019. This person, 0 payment, but he had more than 8 days, so he kicks out. My record, I have a subtotal. These amounts were paid for these reasons. That's my subtotal. I paid so much. I put in so many days. This person, so many days. As long as they have more than 8 or more days, they will kick out. And there we go. So if you send this report to the text file, report is in the text file, and there we are. This time the report was for the year 2019, and this is exactly what we saw before. You can page down to see the rest of it or page up. And once again, these email addresses pertain only to the ones who made 0 payments but put in 8 more than the allowed number of free days. And there's your dues report for 2019. Let's exit from here and back into the system. Now please take a look at this. I want to go back for a moment to dues descriptions. If you list them out, you can't change or delete any one of these except for the last two. These are the user defined ones. You can edit them, you can delete them. So let's say I go to delete one of the user defined codes. These are the description entries. And let's say I want to delete this entry from the system. Confirm the delete. See what it says. This payment code and description has been used for at least one student payment and cannot be deleted. Since I made a payment for this sensei's seminar, my payment entry is in the system and I cannot delete this dues description. Let's try the other one. Sensei XYZ seminar. Confirm the delete. This also has been used. This was used by my friend Mr. Andrews. So once a dues description has been used for making a payment, it cannot be deleted unless you delete the payment for whatever reason that came with that description. So for example, this was the dues received. I want to delete the dues received from me for this person's seminar. Confirm the delete. I'm now deleting a payment I made for this seminar. It's done. This payment is no longer there. I can now go back to the dues description, and if I want to, I can delete this payment code. The description entry. I don't have to, but if I wanted to, I can delete it now. Pick it up, confirm the delete, and it has been deleted. So clearly, you can't delete dues descriptions. You can't delete the dues descriptions if a payment has been made. Now, I have actually forgotten how I programmed this, but let's see if I can edit a dues description where a payment has been made. So this time I'll pick up Sensei XYZ's seminar. Whoops. That's great. This payment description code has been used for a payment and cannot be changed. So for example, my friend Mr. Andrews made a payment specifically for this reason. I can't now change the reason to say is for a dojo picnic. So that makes sense. You cannot edit, you cannot delete a dues description if a payment has been made for that specific description. And so there we have it. The reports of course will change. I deleted one of my payments. I forgot for which year it was. Let me see. It was probably for this year. I had made an extra payment. So anyway, there we have it. The dues module.